Hi there, good morning. I'm Jen Rice, and I want to jump into the 5 stages today that I want to share with you. I was reading about two authors, they're actually two PhDs. In the 1980s, actually 1981, they put out the stages of burnout, and they actually, they kind of call it an armchair assessment of the intensity of the risk that you may actually face in having burnout. And you'll fall in one of 5 categories. And these two gentlemen, Dr. Venega and Dr. Spradley. Dr. Spradley is no longer, he's deceased. He actually passed away in his late 40s. But Bob Venega is a motivational speaker, and he actually has a website, and he's published numerous books on basically social issues. And what they were focusing on in the early 80s was a work-life balance and the stressors from work spilling over into other aspects of people's lives. And prior to that, it hadn't really been widely talked about. So their 5 stages still hold true today, which is great. So we can learn a little bit from that. So the first stage would be the honeymoon. So you have, high job satisfaction. Maybe you've just gotten work in whatever you've been training in, or maybe it's just a new exciting job for you. So, you've got this level of commitment that's very high. Your energy level is high. You begin to have some coping strategies within that work, but it's not, in theory, the coping patterns that you're using to kind of get through your work during the day. And guys, this can actually hold true for people who do not work, that are stay-at-home professionals. Maybe they don't go to, let's say, a place of employment, but they're working on their own business from home. They're stay-at-home moms or dads with a lot on their plate. Perhaps they're a caregiver of an elderly parent. All of these things can be a new quote-unquote position that can begin to show the face of burnout, but in various stages. So, in theory, in stage 1, you are you're in the honeymoon stage and you're coping really well, and you're using a lot of positive mechanisms to cope each day. And there's the cup is very much half full and not half empty, right? So the second stage would be more of a balancing act. So that's where, as opposed to stage 1, where you had this unbridled optimism about everything, you're starting to experience a little bit of, number 1, a job dissatisfaction, work inefficiency. So you may be sliding a bit on how efficient you're being during your work hours. The third thing is sleep issues. So you may start having issues with your sleep, waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to get back to sleep, not being able to go to sleep initially, right? And then using escapist techniques, which would be considered TV, Netflix, all of these kind of things to kind of numb your mind a bit and get rid of the day. And that's just at stage 2. So remember, we have 3 more stages to go before we're at 5. So stage 1 was like honeymoon phase. Stage 2, you're like starting to balance the stress level. Stage 3 is when you begin to have some chronic symptoms. So what do those look like? So unlike in stage 2, where you're just kind of using, you're having a little bit of stress, trying to balance some things, but you're not having any physical symptoms. So stage 3 is when you actually have physical symptoms. So that would be, increased fatigue, exhaustion, maybe you develop headaches, maybe you have a physical illness, and that has just come up during this time. It's maybe a new diagnosis or something that had been you've been compensating real well with and now isn't there. And then anger and depression are apparent in the 3rd stage. So just to review real quick, and thanks you guys for jumping on. I love having you here. It's I'm going over 5 stages to see it's your armchair assessment at your risk of burnout. And this was developed by two professors in 1981, and it still is being used as a sort of personal assessment. So this isn't something maybe a physician or healthcare provider is doing in their office when they're having a consult with someone in psychiatry or in psychology or anything like that. But it is something that you can do on your own. And I think these 5 stages still hold true. So the first one is the honeymoon stage. You're in the new position or new venture and things are going great and you're coping really well. And any issues you're having with your position or your new role are, there's positive reinforcement of it. Stage 2 is where you start to have a little bit of job dissatisfaction. Stage 3 is the physical manifestations of some of the stress. So we were talking about an illness may appear, certainly exhaustion. So stage 4 we're at now. And stage 4 is the crisis, they've titled it. And basically the symptoms become critical. So what does that mean? So your physical symptoms become increased or more so in number to where they're really becoming an effect that they're really affecting you daily. You're having an obsession with your work frustrations. It seems to be dominating a lot of your thoughts, definitely dominating, your outlook on the day, and you end up having some self-doubt dominating your thinking. So your thinking begins to change. So not only are the physical things becoming more apparent and certainly outwardly, visible, but you're also having mental issues with the escapist mentality that we mentioned, that you might pick up a little bit of TV, a little bit of extra binge watching in stage 2, but stage 4, where we're at crisis, are those physical manifestations plus a lot of escapist work where you're having, maybe a great deal of your time is kind of escaping from where you are at the present moment, whether that's into, the latest shows or a coping mechanism like alcohol, prescription medications, you name it. So the 5th stage is enmeshment, which I don't know why they use that word. I don't even know what that word is, and I've been in medicine, but maybe you guys out there that are PhDs know that this is, so basically they're saying that enmeshment is the symptoms of burnout are so embedded in your life that you are more likely to be labeled as having some kind of significant physical or emotional problem than you are to be called a burnout case. So that's where it sort of has taken a whole new turn, and your diagnosis isn't even related anymore to what could have been a work job stressor, home life stressor, anything. It's now considered a whole other classified disorder, which I guess the error of permeability may be may be apparent there, right? So they said even though their model is a little bit, it's kind of sobering in that, these 5 stages are pretty, they're out there, and there's a lot of, you may question, oh, I'm kind of in stage 2, I'm kind of in stage 3. But the hopeful issue, the whole reason they did the 5 stages is they want people to take action to eliminate that stage. So if you're feeling yourself in stage 3, it's not too late to take action. If you're in stage 4, it's not too late to take action. If you're in stage 5, you've probably got the physical or mental diagnosis that it's not the end all be all. But if you can catch yourself even in stage 1, imagine if you made a few changes, how you could prevent that, almost like this domino effect, right? So what do they, so the reason they establish these patterns is so that people would seek some sort of change quickly. And how do you do that? Well, they believe that people would have to find more ways to relieve stress in order to combat the effects that their work, like I said, profession and or daily responsibilities are having on them. So if you want to go back and review the 5 stages again, please do. I think that finding out where you're sitting in those can be really helpful. I have started a website called Jenn Rice International, and basically my mission has been that I think I was, if I'm going to be really honest, I was definitely at stage 4, and I was working on being at stage 5 because I saw a physician for symptoms that were so quote unquote embedded in my life that it almost gives you another diagnosis, which for me was a GI diagnosis. So I am very passionate about making sure other healthcare professionals and people in general, I think, can utilize this information, but specifically those of us that are healthcare professionals tend to really push these things aside as weakness, lack of, this is all just part of the job thing. I'm superwoman, superman. I see so many people that are way sicker than I am. I can suck it up. I can suck it up. And that really doesn't serve our patients well. And it definitely doesn't serve us well in the long run, because there will be a time that we can't keep it up. For me, maybe my mid-40s, right? Okay, so I do have 9 steps to go from medical professional burnout to fulfillment. And those are these coping mechanisms that I was mentioning earlier. And those are the things that really you can begin. You don't have to begin all 9 of them, but you can begin one of them. And it will likely, I would hope, if you begin to go into action, it will keep you from hitting these higher stages. I don't want people to hit stage 4 and 5 like I have. And that's why, I'm doing videos and coming out here and talking about it more, because I feel like it can be avoided. I know it could be avoided, right? So I hope you guys found this of value, and that these two professors and authors, and like I said, one is still a motivational speaker. If you're interested in this kind of content, I can pop his website down below too. He has several books, like I said, from the late 1970s to now. He's certainly an expert in stress crisis. And I appreciate you guys listening today. I hope you have a great weekend. And if you want to check out my 9 steps, you just pop over to www.jenriceinternational.com. Check out my new website. I'd love to have you there. It's been a labor of love. I'm excited that it's out now, and I hope you guys have a great day.